Hey guys, it's Quinn Wade, basketball analysis coming there. Hope you guys enjoying your Friday. We're gonna talk about Wes Unseld Jr. becoming the head coach of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, a backcourt that was devastating the league in the second half of the season. It was a beautiful thing to watch. They even had all the fans just going crazy at the end of the season because they was able to successfully do the play-in and they got it done and they got a chance to go against the Philadelphia 76ers when they won a game against them, and that was about it for the rest of their season. It was interesting to see them go this direction, just because Scott Brooks seemed like he was really figuring it out. It seems like him and Westbrook was on the same page. It seemed like their offense was just going uncontrolled. It was just powerful to see all the stuff that they was doing. And then Davis Bertans, what happened to him? I was waiting for him to show up. I was waiting for him to show out, especially after he got that contract. We didn't really see it. Hopefully, that this coach can utilize him the right way and get the best out of him because they're going to need to do something with him because he's owed so much money and he's going to have to play an important role on this team because this team is far away from being a championship team, honestly and truthfully. And that's something that they're going to have to figure out this offseason because Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal is only getting older. They're not getting younger. They're only getting older. And their time at the top may be a couple more years, and you want to at least get a ship. You make that Russell Westbrook trade because you feel like you're upgrading over John Wall, and even though Russell Westbrook didn't get off to a great start this season, and Bradley Beal did, and Russell Westbrook been going with a lot of injuries too that can really, lower his production, which we did see this beginning of last season. It's going to be interesting to see how they choose to go with this roster because a lot of people are saying blow it up just because they don't really believe that Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal can really do real damage. And then a lot of people are saying they don't really have no hope because they don't really see how this roster can be revamped so quickly with the contracts and the players that they have available right now under their disposal to be able to upgrade this roster. They're going to have to do something because they barely got into the playoffs. Some of those teams like Indiana and obviously the team like Charlotte had major injuries that really helped them take advantage of the situation. You got to give the Wizards their credit because they still went out there, played hard, and got the job done and got into the playoffs and try to make some noise. But at the same time, you want to at least get to that championship level. They got an all-star caliber duo, especially when it comes to the backcourt. They got some guys that was able to get the job done, but they didn't have that third guy they consistently could rely on. Was it supposed to be Bertans? Was it supposed to be Rui? Rui had some good games where he showed that he can be more than just a role player. He stepped up and really did what they needed him to do, and even in clutch situations. And that's what you want to see: confidence. You want to see the growth. You want to see the maturity. And I seen that for Rui, especially in the playoffs. And this is his first time going down there, and he had some big games for where he was drafted at. And I said, you know what, Rui, he's a worker. He's a hard worker. He fits well with this team, but they're going to need him to be a little bit better. Just because this team, when you make that Westbrook trade, you feeling like this is a huge piece that can get you to that championship contention. And they just fell under that as they was one of the worst teams in the league for basically the entire year. And they finished the season under 500 when the season was done. So they have a lot more work to put in. Hopefully they can be more healthier. They had a lot of health problems, a lot of injuries, and guys just couldn't stay healthy. But you can really say that about everybody in the league. Like I said, the teams that they beat to get in also had major injuries to their team, and they was able to go out there and get it done. So they didn't make no excuses. They were seeming a little frustrated. They were seeming like they was going to be, one of the worst teams in the league, and they was able to stay strong, continue to thrive, and push forward, and they was able to get a playoff spot. But when you're making that Russell Westbrook trade, you don't want to be barely making the playoffs. You want to be in the playoffs, secured in the playoffs, and trying to make a real title run. And they never came close to that level this entire season. And I didn't believe that they would, and they didn't. But it's interesting to see what they're going to do in the draft. I think that's something that's going to be very important. I don't really like too many guys that they can draft because a lot of the guys already are filled in this type of job because most of the positions that they have right now are already taken by guys that are better than most people in this draft. And then kind of make you wonder Do you want to get somebody you can develop, or do you want to trade it for a veteran? I don't really know because I don't think trading for one veteran is going to get you that much better, especially when they're going to rely so much on their backcourt to really create a lot for them. And, when that happens, you're gonna need that third star that can really fit well with them. Is that Rui? Will he have a growth development that's gonna be based off how the coach utilizes him? That's gonna be based off the position that he's put in. They had this high speed offense where they come at you, they come at you, they come at you and attack at you, and it worked. Because that's Russell Westbrook game, and Bradley Beal is also a guy that can hit shots from everywhere. So if he can get a first step, if he can get a shot off clean, if he can get some space, he can really rain it down, and that's why he was in control of the scoring title just because of this offense really, helped him get up and down, get easier shots, and his efficiency started to rise. And that's something that you want to see in a guy that's going to take a good chunk of your shots. Russell Westbrook kind of was off and on. Sometimes it seemed like he had it figured out. Sometimes he seemed like he was a little lost out there, especially defensively. And his team was known for having bad defense. And if you're not going to have a top five offense, you're going to at least have to have some better defense. And they just don't have that on the roster. I don't really think it was Scott Brooks coaching. I just felt like it was how the GM built the team. They was fun, they was exciting, and they had guys that can make big plays. But ultimately, we knew that this team was a playoff team at best. Even people that didn't really like this team thought they'd at least be a playoff team, and they was able to at least get that done. But I still felt like they needed a little bit more if they want to repeat that next year, as a lot of these teams are going to get better just like them, but a lot of these teams are already better than them, and I think that was shown throughout the entire season this year. So Wes Unseld got him a difficult task. He got two guys that's agents still trying to fight for their relevancy, still trying to fight for who they are as players, and they still trying to figure out how they're going to attack, especially with a new coach and a new system. But he's not inheriting a bad situation. He got guys that compete. Yeah, guys that really take pride in basketball and love what they do and like to go out there and perform at a high level. It's just about building a roster to win long term or building a roster to win now. They have to figure out what direction that they really want to go in. Bradley Beal seems committed. I haven't heard nothing about Russell Westbrook being unhappy and not wanting to be there. They just don't have the necessary pieces around them. And the sad part, I don't really see too many free agents right now that can help them. And I don't really see nobody in the draft that can really help them either, which puts them in a tough situation. Do they just want to make a trade just to, show them that they're committed to winning? Or do they want to just draft a couple guys and see what they got and then make it in the middle of the season around the trade deadline? Or do they just want to sign a couple of veterans and run it back like they kind of did this year? So they in a situation where they're going to be good enough. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be a team that's going to have a lot of pride each and every night. But at the same time, it only really gets you so far in the NBA. And we've seen that this year. You need some luck, you need some help, and you need guys to step up. And they just didn't have enough of that throughout this entire roster. And the burden fell on Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. And they did their best that they could, especially battling injuries throughout the year and not really having the adequate role players that they needed to go out there and compete every night and win at a high level. But they didn't use that as an excuse for the most part. They still got to the playoffs. They still competed in the playoffs. But we've seen then, even when Joel Embiid goes down, they still couldn't even beat that Philly team. So it just shows you how far this team is really from winning the championship. And it's going to show how hard it is to get to a championship level with the pieces and the talent that they have now, and the fact that they have still got to find that guy that can really elevate them and this entire team. And with a couple bad contracts on this team, and on top of that, they got a lot of young players that I'm not really crazy over. Don't really think it's that good. So I don't think the other GMs would think that either. And they got to pick that you're not really getting anything significant when it comes to guys that can help you win now. It just looks at, Wes Unseld, try to make the playoffs again, live with the results, what happens with that, and maybe we see what happens with Bradley Beal in free agency or you trade him. If you trade Bradley Beal, I do believe you got to get rid of Russell Westbrook. I didn't really like this trade to begin with, and now you're starting to see why when I just brought all that stuff to the table. And now you just got to figure out what to do with Bradley Beal too. That's going to be the biggest decision because he loves it. He's happy, I guess. And with an All NBA All Star season, you can't really blame him. But at the same time, this team needs a lot of help. They really do. I don't really blame the failures of this team on Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I just look at this team as not just having enough around them to really make real damage in the regular season and the playoffs. And that's really out of their control. You know, you get what you get, you play what you play, you go out there and live with results. And I feel like they did that this year. They just didn't have enough firepower. They just didn't have enough defense. And that's something that you just can't change in 1 year. That's something that you have to change, as the years continue to go on. And do they have enough time for that? Do they have the commitment from Bill yet? No, because he hasn't signed the extension to stay for multiple years. And until then, you really don't know what this team is going to be. So if you're a Wizards fan, you happy that you can go in a different direction and try something different. But ultimately, it is not really the coach. It's not really Russell Westbrook or Bradley Beal. Honestly, it is really not having enough talent to compete at the highest level, and that's going to be their biggest issue. So I don't have a problem with Wes. I'm going to give him a fair chance. I'm going to see what he brings to the table. I'm going to see what he does. And he does have a roster that's going to be able to compete for a playoff spot. But he is in a tough situation where he doesn't know where Bradley Beal is going to go. He doesn't know what's going to happen with Westbrook because he's been battling some good injuries, and they have some guys that's showing some stuff, and they have some directions they could go. But I look at this team as a first or second round exit at best, and 2 years from now, I don't know what they are. So this is the situation he's taken, and that's just the reality of it. Other than that, I'll be back tomorrow.